Here we are, wishing I was fishing with Shaye Baker. This is a microphone. We're trying to step things up here. We got a little light microphone. We're getting real professional, but we're still going to be slightly unprofessional as well. We're going to have a good time. We got a great guest tonight, 2020 Bassmaster Classic Champion, Hank Cherry. That's pretty much the last tournament, I'm pretty sure, that's going on this year, which is crazy. And it seems like it was won about 12 years ago now. But we're going to talk with Hank Cherry about the Bassmaster Classic win, about what's in store. The Elite Series put out their updated schedule. I saw it today. I guess it went up today. We're going to talk to him about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, talk to him about a lot of stuff. We're going to sit here and let a few people get on. We got, we're going to get you guys get some questions in. We're going to answer a lot of questions with Hank. In the meantime, we're going to pull up a little video here while we're waiting for folks and let y'all enjoy a little something. Okay.
It hasn't always been easy. There was a time not very long ago that I didn't even know I'd fish again. So, all I can say is, I did it. Let's go!
Let's go indeed. We're going to bring out Art Defoe, the 2019 Bassmaster Classic Champion, to do the handoff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your 2020 Academy Sport and Outdoors Bassmaster Classic Champion, Hank Cherry. The 50th Classic finishes with a cherry on top. Hank Cherry wins the Academy Sports and Outdoors Bassmaster Classic presented by Hook. Team Cherry joins them at the end of the runway. A lifelong dream for not just Hank, but the entire family. Look at that. That's what makes the Bassmaster Classic so special.
What is extremely frustrating about technology is that for some reason videos don't like to play audio for us a lot of times. Apparently that one didn't play audio again. We did this before and we tried it right after and it worked great, but this time it didn't work again. So, hey, you know what? It is what it is. But we've got Hank Cherry in the house. So let's go ahead and get him in here and let's see if he's got some audio. You got audio over there, Hank?
I've got you if you've got me.
I've got you, man. I don't know what's up with that. It's a weird deal. Every now and then it works and every now and then it doesn't.
Well, that's way out of my realm. That's not a dead finder. I can't work it.
I heard that. So what do you think about when you watch that? I mean, does it feel like it's been about 14 years for you too?
It feels like it's been a long time. A part of me feels like I haven't got to actually enjoy the whole thing because I haven't been around anybody that was part of it since it happened.
Yeah. It's so weird because and I remember like when the Classic was coming up, I was kind of watching the coronavirus stuff a little closer than a lot of people, I guess. And I was thinking, man, I don't know if I really want to go up there, get in the middle of a bunch of people, people from all over the place. And then I can't believe the Classic even happened. When you look back now and think that the next week, I think the NBA shut down and everything shut down. I mean, it was right on the cusp of not happening.
Oh, we've thought about that. If it starts 2 days later, it probably doesn't happen. So very blessed that it did, and it turned out the way that it did.
Yeah, that's awesome. So everybody, we got Hank Cherry obviously here, Bassmaster Classic Champ. We're going to take questions and do a little answering for anybody that wants to send a question in. So get them in, and we're actually going to take a few phone calls. We're going to see how this goes. Since technology is obviously not our friend, should not go very well, but we're going to try it, and we're actually going to do voice calls. We got KC Tellis. He's going to be the first one up. He's got a question for you here, Hank. So let's see if we can't get Casey Tellis on the phone. And we're going to do this like it's really happens. Like, brrr, brrr. Y'all hear the phone ringing? I mean, this is serious stuff. Oh, there he is. KC, can you hear us? He can hear us and we cannot hear him. How unfortunate. We tried this earlier and sometimes he could hear us and sometimes he couldn't. So I'm going to kick him out. We're going to give him a chance to, you can hear me? Yeah, I got pretty good at reading KC's lips earlier too. All right, so we're going to kick him out, let him try to come back in and ask us a question here in a little while. He'll click the link again and give it a shot. But yeah, so far so great, Hank.
Hey, it's just the way it goes sometimes.
That is the way it goes. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to do a Mercury Moment. We got that segment where we talk about some of these anglers have these great moments where Mercury didn't let them down. We'll have a tips and tricks segment. I'm going to talk about something I like a lot that Hank does that I don't do, that I'm interested to talk to him about. We're going to have a little Q&A. Like I said, we're going to do a breakdown your water segment presented by ANGLR. And we're going to do Neely Henry, which Austin sent in for the third week in a row. So we're going to finally take care of him. We've kind of catered to other guys, and we're going to get on to Neely Henry for him. We're going to talk about Hank Cherry's challenge inside the app. And then we're just going to do a little Q&A, a little talking, a little hanging out. So we'll see if KC can't get back in here before too long. Give it a shot. It looks like he's back in here. Let's see if this works. I highly doubt it will, but maybe. What up, KC? And it is not working, unfortunately. So I'm going to let KC sit there. KC, just move your mouth like this. So I wanted to ask you, Hank, about your mental toughness. How does mental toughness factor into bass fishing? Because that was a great question he had. He wanted to know about mental toughness. So thanks for the awesome question, KC. We're going to kick you out. Enjoy the rest of the show.
The mental toughness and bass fishing, I think, is 85% of the battle. I mean, there's preparation and skill and luck that all go in there, but I mean, you have to have that. I'm all in. Nothing can faze me. Everybody stay out of the way. This is my job. I've got to do my job. You have to have that. If you start letting outside interference bother your day, the way you're fishing, whether that's people around you, spectator boats, or you had a bad morning, might have had an argument with your wife, you didn't sleep good, whatever it may be. If you let anything when you get on that water, especially in a tournament mode fishing, to interfere with your mental toughness and break you down and take you away, it's almost like baseball. They tell you in baseball, if you're scared to make the play, the ball is going to find you. Well, that second, it seems like every time on the lake, when you fade for a second, especially when it gets slow and you're not being mental tough, paying attention to the grind, that's when that bite happens. And sometimes that's when you lose that fish, because just for that slight second, you drifted and weren't paying attention. But adversity is life.
Yeah.
You just got to deal with it the best you can. But mental toughness in fishing is a good thing, because the deal with fishing is everybody sees the peaks and how high they can go. And the guys that fish, they know that, but they also know the valleys and how low they can go.
Yeah.
So instead of having this, you've got to kind of just keep it there. And that's mental tough. I mean, if you watch the guys that are really good with this, that have been doing this for a long time, when they have a bad tournament, it's not so bad, because they're mentally strong.
Yeah. And,
you know, like Gerald Swindle, you know, PMA, his thing, positive mental attitude. He's got to have it. You've got to be that way. And if you're not, you're already against the 8 ball if you go out there and you don't have that part taken care of.
That's exactly right. And you talk about the peaks and valleys, and obviously a lot of people know about the peak here lately, and I'm sure you're sick and tired, and I'm not even going to hope that the audio works on this video, but I know you're sick and tired of hearing about this and seeing this footage and everything, but we got to play this just one more time, just so we can enjoy even more so. Oh, is there audio playing?
You know, he gets one giant bite, ancient.
So I know this is the Classic 2013 on Grand Lake. And just talk us through what's going on here, Hank.
I know there's fish on this wind-blown point, and I know there's big ones just from a couple that I caught in practice, and I've already caught one. This is my second time going across it, and I've got one that has just engulfed the jerkbait. Like, this fish never comes off. He's going around the boat, up under the boat. In a second, I'm just going to look like I'm going to try to land him. I go to the back, and then I do a rookie mistake. Instead of going ahead and getting him right there, which I should have done, I worry about my boat getting near the rocks. So I'm going to go to the front of the boat like a dummy to get the boat off the rocks. And he's coming up at this time, mouth open, and before he can get to my hand, he just flips off.
You seem to have rethought this several times, calling yourself a dummy. And I mean, obviously, this is a moment that's replayed over and over and over. And you talk about highs and lows, and just in a day's time, that was obviously a huge low that day. But that is one of those deals where in your career, man, that you can never get back from that. Sometimes, there's guys that have gotten that close, and a lot of times there's like a curse that comes with and I'm not going to call people out. Greg Vincent's one of my good buddies, and he had that same situation where he was right there at it. Chris Lane caught a big one on like the last flip of the day and won the Classic, and he was right there. And like the next year, man, it was rough for him, and for a while, and he's doing really well now. But it's so hard. So talk about like a career high and low kind of situation like we're talking about here.
Well, it was, I hadn't even really fished a quote unquote professional tournament at this point. And this was my tournament. This was my introduction.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make a statement that, hey, y'all, here I am. And I think I did every right. And when I look at that video, I can see the mistake that I made. I mean, I probably don't do that 9 times out of 10. I don't do that. But at the moment, it was just the right thing. Get caught up in that. But that low was just low enough to start a fire for me. And it burned. And sometimes it burnt so hot that it bothered me. But majority of the time, it burnt enough to keep the water hot and to keep me going. And I knew that being wet behind the ear, if I got that close one time, that I was going to get another shot. And I made myself a mental promise that if that opportunity ever came again, flash forward to Guntersville, that wasn't the outcome. And that's the best I can explain it. Like I said, highs are highs and lows are lows. And strong-minded person, you're going to learn from both of them.
Yeah, like I said, that's the low.
Small one is what could be about a 2.
That's the low.
Fair.
Well, let's see. I'm trying to turn the audio down, and I don't know if it's playing on y'all's end, but it's loud over here. That was the low, and but it fed into this. So it's all like you said. You got to just kind of put it all together. But this is a special moment here, huh?
Yeah, this is the big crankbait fish. The first day, yeah. That was a live scope target that I saw out there. And I told the camera guy fish, but I didn't think that was about to come up. But that ended up being like the 3rd 7-pounder of the day. It was very exciting, and that's just one of those fish that I just feel like he was just meant to be caught.
Yeah. Talk about just that whole week. I mean, you caught bigs all week, seems like, and that's Guntersville's built for that. I mean, there's a lot of big fish. It's a big fish fishery, obviously. But every time you hook one, you got to be worried about losing them again after all that other mess. And so talk about just being able to seal the deal there and get it done.
Well, it was rough because I told my wife, before I'd left, I'd been telling people since December, I'm going to get down. I'm going to win it. Everybody says they're going to win it, but I honestly thought I was going to win. I didn't know how, but I thought that. And practice was a little confusing, I guess, because I could catch the quality on the places I was running to, but I couldn't get the quantity at all. And then when that weather came in and I kind of ran the backup plan, for that first day to go down like it did, that was just like water on that old fire and a whole new flame came up. That day just proved to me, not that I had any doubt, but it solidified, hey dude, you can do this.
Yeah.
And it just continued to roll. Now I did have a little doubt that second day. No one doubted, I got a little perturbed when I lost that great big one at the end of the second day, because I knew in my head I'd catch that fish, my lead is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. And probably in the past that might have come on to affect me the third day. Because lo and behold, I only lose 2 fish. One at the end of the day, the second day, and my second bite of the day, the third day. But I stayed in there, did what I love doing, and just picked my area apart. Was pretty much left alone by the rest of the guys. And if you know Guntersville, big ones live there, and lots of big ones live around that causeway.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where when everybody loses fish. So when you go in, you hear the guy talking about, well, I lost the winning fish. Well, maybe the guy that won lost fish too. And in your situation, you did. So it's always impressive to me whenever you can overcome that and go ahead and still win without everything going perfectly. Because a lot of guys, me included, I mean, you got to have everything go perfect to win, and you were able to overcome the adversity, by the minute. So that's awesome. Well, we got another guy here to ask us a question. Maybe, hey, we're 0 for about 7, so maybe we'll actually work out here on audio and all. This is actually one of my buddies from down here in Reeltown, Alabama, Cade Cosby, coming into the show. See if we can't get him in here in 3, 2, 1. There he is, Cade. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you, Hank?
Good. Got audio.
Yeah, it's working. So I'm at work right now. If you hear a lot of talking, I'm a firefighter. So there it is, right there. So if we can get through that. We're having audio, so now we got other people talking. So
yeah, we got all kinds of audio.
Yeah, man, cool. Congrats on the classic win on the Big G, man. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
So every angler has what they consider their home lake. Growing up on Lake Martin, that is my home lake. I know you fish a lot of lakes with blueback.
Lake Martin. Now that's the lake that Kelly J built, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yep, yeah. That's it.
And his mind.
I'm pretty sure that's Kelly J's home lake as well. I actually saw him yesterday. So, like I said, I know you fish a lot of lakes with blueback herring. With the rising numbers of herring that are in Lake Martin, what effect do they have on a fishery, and how do you target bass in those types of fisheries?
Okay, it's kind of good and bad. The good side of it is the herring are good for the fish. They're a healthy meal, nutritious protein. They grow big. The downside is they're a nomadic bait fish that like to stay out in open water. So eventually the bigger spots and largemouth that hang around that shoreline structure are going to become migratory fish, and they're going to chase those herds. You'll be able to target them with numerous techniques that you probably hadn't before, bigger baits too, especially as the bait gets bigger. But herring lakes, if you haven't spent a lot of time fishing them, they can be very, very tricky because the fish are always on go. Even in the hot summertime and the cold, they're always on go because they get a taste for that stupid herring and they want to eat it all the time. So that's what I want to be around. I mean, you'll still have some brim eaters, but the majority of those fish are going to chase those herrings. So then you've got to become more poised to maybe look for them a little deeper, look for them a little more suspended, throw bigger baits, change the way you search for them. But it's a fish. He's not that smart. You can't give him that much credit. One thing it will do, though, come springtime, when the herring spawn on the points, which there's plenty of them at Martin, should make it phenomenal.
Yeah, that's something we're interested in on that, because Lake Martin's my home lake too. Like I said, Cade's from the same town here. Appreciate the question, Cade. That was a great job. How far will those fish come up? Like if they're down there chasing herring 30 feet deep, will they blast the top water?
If it's clear, no doubt about it.
That's wild.
Like the chain of lakes, like around where I fish home, Murray, Hartwell, Lanier, Norman, places like that, where the water's clear and there are bigger spots and there are some herring, especially in those other lakes, predominantly herring. Those fish might come from 25, 30, 35 foot straight up, come rocket to it, especially around cane piles. That's something. If the herring are taking over and that's what's happening, then I know a lot of guys put brush piles in around on that lake. I would definitely be switching some to cane.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because we got a ABT championship here this year, and it's like $50,000. It's on the home lake. So I thought about last fall going out once I realized, the herring were really getting out there a lot and putting out cane, because I've been around enough covering terms. I've fished Lanier a couple of times. I know that's kind of a big deal there and all, but I've never really fished herring lakes much. I've covered tournaments, and I know everybody talks about those cane piles. Why is cane so much better than brush?
Well, it's a stopping sign for them, and it's a vertical piece. If you get it right, it's a vertical piece of structure more than just the brush pile, and that's an actual stop sign. And the better thing about cane is you can put it out there on it the next day. Where if you put pine trees, stuff like that in for as far as brush, the acidity in the wood, it's good immediately. Then it kind of fades off, and then if you notice 6 months later, it's good again. And if you do cane piles right, they can actually be kind of mobile. So, and they're not really hard to do, but the fish really like them. And with cane, you're not really catching the fish in the cane. You catch them around the cane. Something about the canopy it creates and the way that the fish and the bait relate to it. So it's just a different version, different way. But lots of places that have never seen cane and then you put it in, it does wonders.
Yeah, that's interesting because at some point that's going to show up out here. So talk about like the evolution. Have you ever fished? Have you any of your fishers you've been actually on them at that time when the herring started happening? Like, what lakes do you fish with herring in them? Have they always been there? Did they just get in there in like the 90s or the early 2000s?
For as long as I can remember, they've been in Murray. Without being politically incorrect or correct, most people around my house in the area they blame the herring on the striper fishermen.
Yeah,
because that's like a chocolate bar for a striper. So I don't know. They personally, to me, they don't bother me because I don't mind getting out and fishing for them. I kind of like that style, but it didn't become as prevalent to fish for them like it has probably over the last 15 years. Now, I don't know why, if they were there, they introduced them, however that works, but it just seemed like you never really heard any much about staying on the herring and chasing the herring until about, I guess it'd be a 15, 16 years ago. It was always thread fins in the back of the creeks. But like if you get around my house now, the thread fin population is just depleted. We have some herring, we have some alewives, we have some gizzard shad, and you hardly find any little bait. So
it's interesting. Lake Martin, we got where it was really hard to find a lot of shad for a while. Like it seemed like a lot of the stripers had decimated that population. And now that the herring are in there, you're starting to see a lot more shad. I don't know if the stripers are so focused on those herring, they're leaving some of the shad alone, but you're starting to see a lot more shad. So
they will. Those stripers will definitely take after that herring before they go after that shad. But at home, we had plenty of both, and now it's just done. And we have an overabundance of white perch, which can just wipe out a threadfin population when they school up in the wintertime. You know, they look like a huge cloud on the bottom of your depth finder. You can just catch them for days on a spoon. So there's a lot of different mitigating factors. I mean, you know, we had beautiful hydrilla growing, and then all of a sudden they do a TV show that the coots eat it and the eagles eat the coots, so they get brain cancer because of the grass, and so they killed the grass. And
oh man,
it's just, you know, there's no telling what really happened to the bait fish. All I know is that 2 years ago and up until early last year, we had beautiful grass, all the herring, all the alewives, all the bait, and good fishing. And there's just kind of, it hasn't been the same since they killed the grass. I'll say it. I'm not sure exactly how they managed to kill that much grass that fast. I mean, like gone, like not even see a piece now.
That happened a few years ago when you follow too. Like they started spraying down there, and I mean, they can really wipe that stuff out. And that, I don't know. I'm not going to get into marine biology and everything because I don't know anything about it. But it seems to me it'll be very hard for you to kill that much vegetation and not affect fish. And I know you're attacking a piece of vegetation and not an animal, but at the same time, whether it's just the stuff decaying and everything and it messing up the balances in the water, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to jump over here and do one of our segments, a Mercury Moment. This is a moment where Mercury didn't let you down, and Hank obviously runs Mercury. So give us your Mercury Moment there, Hank Cherry.
My Mercury Moment is easy. This year, my son and my dad had gone with me to Lake Chickamauga this winter to pre-practice for the event, and I was just going to ride, but they wanted to catch a couple of fish, never been, so they came with me. Well, one day we were kind of in the middle of the river near the big plant there, and a very strong south wind kicked up. We were in the back of a creek checking it out, and it started blowing up to 30, 35 miles an hour. There were storms all around. We hit the main channel, and it's just monster wave after monster wave building up around over the current. One going one way, one coming the other, just building up. Here I am with my father, my son. I come out in that bass cat, trim that Mercury down, keep the nose up. We got all the way across to get behind some shoals. I just found the line with the Garmin. We got in behind it, ran it back, never skipped a beat. And quite honestly, I had more doubt in myself of driving the boat than I did of that Mercury getting us over there, because I knew it was going to get us to the other side, and it did. And we got back, and we laugh about it now, but that was probably one of the scariest things that I've ever been a part of. And I sure was glad to have the Mercury on the back then.
Yeah, no doubt. That a lot of the guys, when we ask them what the Mercury Moment is, it's about something relative to a tournament. Naturally, I mean, that's most of the time it's what you're doing. But I never really thought about a situation there where you're just glad to be able to get back safe. So that's interesting, and appreciate you sharing your Mercury Moment with us. So we'll get a little Q&A in. Everybody send your questions in for Hank Cherry, Bassmaster Classic Champion. Does it get old having to hear that title attached to your name?
No.
Do you want people to say Bassmaster Classic Champ Hank Cherry that won the Bassmaster Classic? Is that better?
Either way, it's not going to matter. I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, Tyler Waller here, or buddies, you can't see the whole question here, but he's asking about camera boats getting close. How far, because we talk a lot about, spectators too, etiquette wise, what distance do you kind of want to keep the crowd? And I guess it really depends. Like herring bites, obviously way further away if you're out deep than maybe if you're flipping a brush pile. So how do people know kind of, I mean, they got to have a conversation with you kind of, I've ran a camera boat a lot myself and shot pictures. You kind of just got to, it's a dance a lot of times. So how do spectators need to kind of pay attention and be careful to not affect the game?
Well, you just kind of with me, I'm not really as affected with something I was doing at Gunnersville of how close you get to me. I mean, I don't want you to be close enough where I can hit you with my rod, but if you're going to talk to me like I would talk to some guys, I'd rather do that than having to scream or kind of having to turn my head where I lose my train of thought of what I'm doing. But what happened in this one a couple of times, camera boats kind of got ahead of me. And I don't want that. I want to be the first one to go through the water and fish, and I don't want to fish behind the camera boat.
Yeah.
And the question, I see the guy's talking about, I hadn't had a fish bite, come up and jump and run towards the spectators the whole week. So I'm not going to blame a fish coming off on a camera guy in the boat. That's just not going to happen. But you just got to kind of watch the angler. Everybody's different. And I guess if you know you're going to follow somebody, check out their social media pages and you kind of figure out what kind of guy they are. I mean, I definitely wouldn't go. There's some guys I definitely wouldn't go get up in their back pocket because you're probably not going to tell you. And there's probably other guys that are going to call you in. I mean, you might go around Steve Kennedy. He might want to hook up your boat to you and let you just pull him around. And he's some idea. It might get him more bites. You never know. But then there's other guys that aren't going to do that. But me, dude, when we got done the last day, when I looked and saw everybody, I didn't even realize how many were there, how many were on the road. Like I talked to kids and I talked to some other people, but we're not really paying attention to all that. Yeah. But I will pay attention to something that gets in my line of sight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Like if you get out in front of you, I can see because like you're so careful to have a small footprint, right? You want to keep your presence as minimal as possible in the water. So yeah, once you get somebody up there in front of you, that can kind of be Aaron Martin's, God love him, praying for him, what all he's got going on. He's doing good right now. But I was covering him at the Cal Delta one time. And I know he's a peculiar dude. I mean, he would never say anything negative to you anyway, but you just never really know what he's thinking because he is so far out there and above us in the way he thinks. I got out on like a levee to where I didn't get in his way. I got out on a levee and my camera boat got backed up. I'm walking down the levee. I'm a good 65, 70 yards from him. And he's down like this steep incline fishing little toolies or something. Sight fishing. So I'm just going to ease up and kind of get a cool shot through the toolies and hit him. And he goes, "Hey, bro, what are you doing, bro?" He sees you. He thinks you're a giant raccoon. He thinks you're a giant bear. And I'm like, "What? How do you know what this fish thinks that I'm a bear? I'm 65 yards away. We're in California. Why would I be a bear?" But he just went on this tirade. And I was like, "My bad, man." And I hopped back, But he did it all in good fun. But he was serious. Like he felt like that was affecting the fish. I couldn't even see him, much less where he was fishing.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, I'm not even I just turned around and went back, He called me several things. He called me a bear, a giant raccoon. I can't even remember. There's a video actually on Bassmaster of all the nicknames he called me while I was trying to cover him. But that you just never really know until you interact with somebody a few times, kind of what they want and all. But like Aaron, like you said, it's a weird situation where like he would be like, just come up here and get in my boat. I'd rather just have you in my boat and know what's going on than you be 40 yards away,
Yeah.
It's an interesting deal. All right, let's see if we got us another question over here. Joshua Craft. Let's see here. I'm still trying to figure out how to maneuver everywhere. How did you beat KVD on Muskogee and White? How did you beat KVD on? What about it?
That was my rookie year at the All-Star event. I just beat him throwing a swim bait. I threw a swim bait and a jerk bait for 3 days.
Nothing wrong with that. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
I heard that. What let's see who else we got. We got another caller. This is super stage here. This is actually Derek Horner, our producer. We're gonna let him pop up and ask you a question, Hank. And it's gonna happen in 3, 2, 1. I'm so good at predicting stuff. Look, no audio again. Oh no, actually, that's just me teasing. Go ahead.
Yeah, we should have audio. So I'm gonna play off Joshua Kraft's question. So you're throwing that swim bait. Where were you targeting? Like, what time of year was it, and why were you throwing a swim bait?
It was in the fall, and the shad had just started herding up there. The 2 lakes, Muskogee and White, weren't very big places. So on the one lake, I found a embankment on the industrial side that was holding shad, and across the lake from there, there was it's like the Dead River or some little river channel that came out that everybody in their ski boats would come out. Well, I sat out in front of it and caught a few fish during practice, and then the last one I caught, it's like the 3rd or 4th one. When I caught it, I just noticed something in the water, so I played it real slow, and there was hundreds of bass. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna fish right here. And then I found that little point. It was the most obvious sand point on all of White Lake, right outside that north end before you hang the right to head to the lake. It was just had a big drop on it full of shad. I made 2 casts there on the practice day, caught 2 big smallmouth, and I was like, all right, we're going to fish right here. So that was one of those that I just believe. I've told my wife over and over again, it was just meant to be that day.
Yeah, you hear that a lot with tournament anglers, but
the swim bait deal was that the shad were just that size, and there was no particular target, and anything that's catching that fish is not sitting on anything. That's just what I like doing.
Cool. Well, appreciate you, Derek. Thanks for calling in. We're going to kick you out now.
appreciate it.
Yeah, that was we're trying this out, this little call-in deal, and you got to kind of do what you got to do. We're trying to set an example, basically, of what we want you guys to do. We hope to get to where we can actually do these without having to kind of set it up beforehand. But we'll have a deal where we'll send you a link and you can come on here and chat with these guys face to face. That's one thing that with the tournament scene shut down, it's kind of one of the big things that we've lost throughout the sport is not being able to have this one-on-one, communication and contact with the anglers where like at these weigh-ins and all, I mean, there's, you can walk right up and talk to Hank and he can sign something for you, whatever. So even now, when we go back to fishing, we're probably not going to have a lot of crowds probably for a while. Probably not going to be allowed to do much of that stuff. So we want to try to get it where you guys can talk to them in person on here. And we'll do a couple more questions before we move on to our next segment. We got, let's see, Nenad Eric Markovic. Nenad? I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. What Bass Cat boat you running and why that model, Hank?
I run the Bass Cat Lynx because it's got the wide front end. It's wider than any other. It's got the deep cockpit, which is good on my back. Haven't had any back issues since I switched to it. It's a great handling boat, and it's a little different than what everybody else has. I'm kind of, one of my hashtags is don't blend. I don't like being like everybody else. So I was impressed with it from the first time I ran it, and this is the 2nd year I've had that boat, and it's just an excellent boat. And it's a very safe boat.
I got you. Cool. How long is that boat?
What is it? 20 foot, 8 inches.
20 foot.
Like
you see a lot of guys now kind of going to 21-foot boats and then 19-foot boats. Do you still think like a 20-footer is kind of that good middle ground where you can still get into some places, but you still have enough boat to ride rough water?
Yeah, I think 20 foot's big. I know some of them got close to 22. I think that's a little overkill, but I think 20 is right about there. Just, I still remember when I thought 18 foot with a 150 on it was big. So
yeah,
but the 20 footers, it's what I like, and it fits in the garage nicely.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Got to worry about where she's going to stay at night. So appreciate that question. Let's see if I think I might have another one. Do you have? Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to our next segment here, which is going to be break down your water. anglers break down your water. So what we like to do here is dive into somebody's lake, pond, or not pond, lake or river or fishery, local fishery, and see if I got it pulled up here on the phone, get it up here on the screen. So this is Neely Henry. Austin sent this in to us. You said you fished there once before. I fished there a couple of times, but not many times. And it's really a lot of river, but then some backwaters and little creeks and stuff. There's a lot of industrial looking stuff up here. Have you ever fished kind of around the bridges and all up here?
Not really. But I mean, like, if we need any really good information on this place, I could phone a friend and call Matt Heron. I'm sure he could tell me.
Phone Matt. Yeah, Matt he'd probably tell us a little bit, but I don't know if he'd give up the goods. It's a pretty lake. I mean, like I said, I've been up there a time or two, but man, I went up there in like January and fished a college tournament. And it was, I don't even remember what the water temp was, but like day one, I think it was, say there was 120 boats and there was 70 zeros on the first day. Jordan Lee and I fished that tournament together, and he caught the big fish of the tournament sitting in the captain's seat on the front of the boat the next day. He put it up in the front of the boat, had a shaky head on a bridge, rip wrap, and caught a 5-pounder. I think it was the only fish we caught the whole tournament. It was miserable. But it's a great lake to break down. So let's see. Look at all these little deals. Look at this little deal. Looks like some shoreline vegetation. So should be what early post spawn, maybe a couple still on bed, so shad spawns and stuff. What you like to swim a jig, right? So there's some vegetation.
They definitely swimming a jig, frog over in the vegetation, spinnerbait on the outsides. Maybe even getting into some walking bait topwater action. It might be I'm sure there's some kind of shad spawn going on somewhere, and probably with this crazy weather, there's probably some bluegill pulling up the spawn somewhere.
Yeah, we're starting to see that down here. I'm maybe an hour and a half south of there, and we're already seeing some bluegill spawning. So mostly above gas in here. It looks like a river run, some backwaters, and I mean, you can tell there's a boat just came out of there, so you can get in there pretty good. What do you look for when you go to a new lake that's a river system this time of year?
I'm looking at well, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pay attention to water to see if I'm seeing any shad spawning, any fry. Try to figure out what kind of stage they're in, because you could show up some of these places and it's just been warm and you didn't really know it, and they could have just gone ahead and skipped the stage and be on their way out. So I'm always trying to figure out when I get there where they were and where they're going. It's always in my head, and it seems like you do that by trial and error and by fishing, not by riding. And the signs you can get, like I said, are fry, bluegill beds. If you're still seeing that stuff in the shallows, there's going to still be some fish shallow and around where you're at. If that stuff's null and void and you're not seeing anything, then you might want to change location.
Yeah, that it looks like really it's pretty spread out where you can. It'd take a lot of time to fish this place. Like I said, most of the main run's river, but there's a lot of room in these backwaters, and it looks like it's pretty shallow. Some of it may not be fishable, but I'm sure there's plenty.
See, the docks will get my attention. Post spawn and docks always go together.
Yeah, you like to skip that old jig under there.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do is to swim under that thing this time of year.
That's one thing I wanted to talk to you about. We'll get into the tips and tricks here in a minute, but that's one thing I noticed before when I was watching you fish. Back when you were getting started with the Elite Series, you were swimming a jig under. A lot of guys throw like a little swim bait under docks now, and a lot of those fish are probably a lot more pressured. But you were swimming a jig under those docks, and talk about that. Like so that's more of a postpone deal.
It is. Well, it's kind of the postpone / when the shad spawn and kind of when the crappie are done doing their things and they get around the docks and bridge pylons or any kind of vertical structure that gives you some shade. And then basically it's just a white jig with a big white chunk, and you kind of yo-yo that thing through there. You're not really swimming it like a traditional swim jig, like casting, reeling. You're just more of a finesse presentation with a big size bait. You're just trying to emulate. It could be any of those things, a big gizzard shad, a ball of little shad, a crappie, anything. And you can just get some very big bites in the early to late post spawn doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. I got to try that more, especially now with the herring and all, which we've got a lot of crappie and stuff on Martin, but it'll be interesting to see if the herring, the herring never really get super shallow, or they stay out most of the time. They just get shallow to spawn.
Yeah, they do. But no, At night they come up,
Really?
which is and I enjoy catching them at night. That's when you catch them on like a big redfin, big weight bait, Berkeley surge shad, stuff like that. Anything that's big that you can get out there. But typically for the most part, once they come do their thing, they're open water critters.
I gotcha. Well, no herring in Neely Henry. So let's move back down. Let's see, we got a little cloud cover there. What about this little deal here? Right, it's not far down. So there's some more docks, and it looks almost like some kind of little jetty or something right here.
Looks like a little wing dam or something.
Yeah.
I mean that's a good place to, you can catch them on top of it, on top water, sides cranking or dragging a worm or a jig, or I mean, like I said, that's all going to be just depending on what time of year it is. Like right now, the first thing coming to my head would be top water going across it.
Yeah.
Just looking for that active fish.
Like you're talking about, the weather's so wild right now. I think it's supposed to be high 30s, low 40s. It was last night, and it's going to be tonight again there and here. So down here, like you'll see a lot of times in Alabama. So Neely Henry is a good example of that. You'll have fish in several stages all through the spring, because you'll have some that are up shallow already that'll jump right on the bed. The first couple we had, I think we had 6 or 7 days in the 80s. Maybe not all the way up to Neely Henry, but down here around Auburn and Montgomery, like a month and a half ago, it seems like. And then now we're back down to the 40s at night and highs in the 60s some days. So you never really know, but some of those deeper fish may not move with that first warm snap, but some of them up shallow would have jumped up. And so there's always a little of everything going on. What about mixture here on like mud lines and stuff? Do you look for that kind of stuff when you're fishing rivers?
I do, especially in the earlier part of the year, in the colder months, because I think if you have some clear water and that wind pushes in against the current or whatnot and creates a good mud line, I always like to look for that, because I think you get a few extra bites doing that. I think it's easy meal for fish, especially with a lot of clear water around. I don't typically like dirty water around the spawn. I think it interrupts what they're doing. I don't think they feel quite as comfortable, meaning the fish. But definitely later on, as the spawn goes away, and like I said, bluegill time comes in, I don't mind mud lines at all, but that's just a place they can hide and ambush prey.
What about, and it may have no correlation whatsoever, but I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like mud lines, obviously fish will use them. Shade lines, fish will use. Do you see any correlation between the two of those, or do you see like differences between how fish?
I think it's kind of the same, because I've watched people fish bridges before, and I noticed this. It was last year at the Lake Hartwell tournament. I was catching them off a jerkbait on a bridge, and you watch people that fish bridges. Most of them just come in and fish the columns, and they're gone. Well, that bridge gives you one complete shade line all the way around. So I can't tell you throughout the years, especially jerking and throwing a swim bait, how many fish I've caught that were just hanging under the actual bridge of the shade. Because if you draw it back, a bridge is nothing but a big dock.
Yeah.
And they get in the shade in the dock, it's dark under the bridge, it's the same thing. And I think that's a huge mistake people make. They don't fish everything that's there. But I think that the shade line and mud line, it's all the same. It's just ambush.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so let's see if we can't give them a little bit more here before we jump off of Neely Henry. That looks like some of this looks like the water was down a good bit there when that picture was taken. So that's kind of can be to our benefit. That's one good thing about studying satellite is you can see where it's almost like a topo deal. So talking about bluegill beds and brim beds and stuff. Let's I guess try to find a little shallow point or the back of a pocket. What do you look for brim beds on a river system like that?
Same thing. I'm looking for something that's out of the current. It's going to have a break. Typically, just something that just jets off one way or another. It doesn't have to be huge either. I've seen them right off the edge and on the side of an eddy, and I've seen them all the way back up in the swamp. But I don't think they have to be deep. I just think they need to be, to where the bluegill feel comfortable and do their thing, and the bass are going to find them. That's one thing a bass is going to find. When bluegill get on the bed, bass are coming to eat them.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about that. That looks like I said, the water looks like it's down in this picture. So maybe just get right around that eddy, right around that point, and find your little spot right there.
Yeah, and maybe pay attention to where there's more sand than rock, or if there's a tree or something, lay down on some sand, just anything to hold them. And if you see that, you're going at it.
So when you go to look for that, so obviously, like if you get right there around that corner and you don't just stumble on them right away, you just pick up a top water and go all the way up that bank, just kind of in search mode.
I would, especially with all that cover there. there's a great chance that if they're not spawning, the ones that are going to spawn are up there around it, and it's a good place to catch leftovers. Because see, you got to people think about the bluegill spawn. Well, right after that, in most parts of the country, you're going to have the mayflies coming. They all kinds of happens in the same places. So that's what you. That's like I said, you have to use your eyes and pay attention to what's going on. This is the one time when your depth finder is not really going to make that big a difference. Your eyes are what counts.
Yeah. 10-4. Well, that's awesome. That's hopefully Austin got a little something out of that. That was a good breakdown your water segment. So we'll move on to a little more Q&A. We've got a very interesting question here. And I don't really have an opinion, but I'm very curious what you think here. Drew Sadler, I don't know if you can see the whole question here. He wants to know, and for those of you watching who can't see the whole question, you got a kind of a Tito Ortiz vibe about you. You got a big presence. And he says he likes your fishing style, says it matches Tito Ortiz. So if you were to challenge an MMA fighter from that era, who might it be and why?
God.
Nice, man.
You know, I don't know who it would be. I think from that era, if I was going to fight somebody, because the way I am, I'd want to fight the baddest. I'd want to fight Rampage.
Rampage, yeah. I was thinking Iceman, Chuck Liddell, but I mean, either one. It would be very interesting to watch you tie up with either one of those guys.
I think Rampage. I don't know. I've always wondered what it would feel like if he got you up in there and did one of them slams. What those guys are actually feeling when the back of their head hits that mat. So
I have never wondered that. That is the difference between a competitor and a non-competitor. I have never ever once wondered what it would feel like to get body slammed by Rampage. Yeah, that's something to think about.
Oh, I've thought about it. I mean, I thought about how it would feel to get run over by Bo Jackson going and trying to hit him. It did. I'm sure it would hurt, but I'd still try to hit him as hard as I could. But I don't think it'd come out on my end very well.
Oof. Yeah. All right, that's good. That's a good question. Everybody get your questions in. We got all right. So if it was Rampage versus Cherry, who you got? We want to know. But we got a little time left here with Hank Cherry. We're gonna do some more Q&A. Let the classic champ hear your questions. We don't have any more callers. We're gonna try to do some more of that later, but another day. So anyway, let's move on to little tips and tricks. How about that? You want to do tips and tricks? So you're talking about a little bit, alluded to it a little bit. You were doing the skipping a jig under dots, swimming a jig kind of under dots, yo-yoing it a bit. What gear do you use for that? I mean, are you a short skipping rod kind of guy, or?
No, I'm a pretty much, depending on where I'm at in the country, it's either a 7.3 or 7.6, 7.6 heavy, 7.3 medium heavy. Just depends. I
got you. Do you use a faster gear ratio over ill or slower gear, or like just
well, if I'm swimming it, I'm a 7.3 to 1. If I'm just getting it in there and getting it out, it's 8 to 1.
I got you.
That new EXD Revo that Abu Garcia made is made for long casts, but I've figured out that I can do some damage skipping docks with it, and that's become my favorite reel actually for that technique.
What else do you like to do? So you talked a little bit about the hair deal. That's one of the things you're more familiar with. You talk about a big top water. Talk to us a little bit about what maybe do you have like 2 or 3 top waters? What's your top water setup, bait, reel, line, everything that you really like to do the hair and deal with?
Sorry about that. Phone's going off. Oh, that. Geez. The simplest way to do it is just with like a regular jerk shad or a fluke style bait. Take a actual screw it through the nose of the fluke and stick the hook through the circle of the screw. So your bait's actually hanging off your hook, but it can't come off because you're through the screw. Tie like 12-inch leader to a swivel to your main line, preferably on a spinner rod, 20-pound braid, probably 15-pound fluorocarbon, so you can bomb it. If you fish it that way, you can fish with one bait through probably 10, 15 fish, where if you do the other way where you're rigging it through there, you're going to tear them up as you go. That's a trick that a lot of people don't know, and it actually works really well in smallmouth too. The cane walker, since it's come out, a lot of people throw it on braid. I'm still more of a 20-pound mono guy. I just can't quite convert everything over to it yet. I like to just bomb that thing and make as much noise as it possibly can. And another top water that really works really well for the herring spawn, especially when they're up shallow, if they get around the docks like they do at Lake Norman, is a white popping frog. They don't see it a lot, and it's something that you can really, really do some damage with. And after that, on 50-pound X9 braid, 7.3-1 STX, 7.6 heavy rod, and just jerk them in the boat. But that's probably my 3 favorite things to do.
That's pretty interesting. You don't hear a lot of people talking about throwing a frog around the herring deal. That's interesting. And like I said, they don't see a lot of it. So what frog do you like to do? There's a lot of different hollow body baits now. Is there one in particular you like for that?
I probably had the best success with Boom Boom's frog.
I got you.
I own hundreds of frogs like everybody, and there's different frogs. You know, everybody has this one walks better, that one pops better, or whatever. I just had good luck with Fred's frog, and it's just kind of become my favorite, I guess.
One of the things you mentioned too about the not being able to swap over to the braid and sticking with the mono, is it a deal where you got a cadence down with that mono? Because obviously fish is totally different from braid as far as the stretch and all, or do you feel like you lose less fish close to the boat, or that's something you hear from a lot of guys? Why is it you stick with it?
I think I like to rip on them. I think when I rip on them with the braid, I pull it through their mouth, rip their mouths open. To be honest, I think that's it. I think I just like to rip on them.
Yeah, I can see that, because for those of y'all who don't know, I mean, you know, mono's got a lot more stretch. Braid has a little stretch, very little. Fluorocarbon's got a little more, but obviously fluorocarbon doesn't float. So you got 2 options with the top water. You got braid and mono, and if you like to snatch, you definitely don't want to be doing the braid deal, even way out there, because it will either you'll take it away from them or you'll snatch through them, like Hank's talking about there. So with mono, you'll just go ahead and still lay the wood to them.
Oh yeah, definitely, and just keep on cranking. Yeah. I like them. They bite that top water, especially the big ones. I like to get that mouth open and just ski them onto the boat if possible.
I like it. Well, that's a good pure fishing tips and tricks segment. A lot of good herring information there. So we're going to do a little bit more Q&A, and then we're going to slide over to our last segment, which is going to be pretty relaxed. So Colin McCain here asks, you got a time frame if things aren't necessarily working out during a tourney, or does it sort of happen organically? I guess as far as changing up things.
I don't really. You kind of set a game plan, and then another baseball analogy, you got pitchers in the bullpen, and when something's not working, you get one up in your head, and he starts warming up, and then sometimes that goes to click, so he sits back down, and sometimes you got to change, but if you're scared to change, you're probably scared to fail, then you're out of the game anyhow. Yeah. You got to do with what you think's right, do it with conviction, and go about it. And what happens, you have to accept responsibility, learn from it, move on.
I like it. Like I said, the less you can get rattled, the better off you'll be. So if you run into a pocket, you got a little game plan going. There's a boat sitting there. You make a U-turn ahead to the next thing. You lose one, you catch the next one. You do what you got to do and just keep rolling. So I like it, Hank. I appreciate you taking the time with us tonight. We had a great show, great time hanging out with you, getting to know you a little better. Congrats again, 2020 Bassmaster Classic Champion, Hank Cherry, the 2020 Bassmaster Classic Champion.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
That's all.
I like you.
We're going to do one last thing here at the end of the show. It's a little nod of the hat to Scott Butcher. He's the one kind of got me into doing this stuff, and one of the things he likes to do is roll out the red carpet. So we're going to do our version of that, which is the last thing you do before you go fishing. Same thing with the last thing you're going to do before you get off the show here. Got to put the plug in. Hank, go ahead and thank whoever you want to thank.
Oh gosh. I gotta thank my family, my wife that's sitting here, my dad and mom who are outside keeping the dogs and the kids going crazy so you can actually hear what's going on. All my sponsors from the motors, Mercury, Bass Cat, TH Marine, the Warriors journey, and what they're doing with our military and trying to get the Warriors back into society. I can't thank them enough for that, and just the military people in general for what they do. We know without them, we wouldn't be able to chase fish. You wouldn't be doing this. There's a lot of things we wouldn't be doing. I've got Bass Mafia, JB Langley, Elite Angler. I can't leave out Garmin, because I promise you, I cannot fish without that Garmin Live Scope. It's so important to me. Abu Garcia, Berkeley. I've got a good family of sponsors. Picasso that makes the jig for me, and spinnerbait and other things. They do things with Aaron too. Shout out to Aaron. Hope he's doing better. I've seen some videos where he's doing good. Yeah. There's so many I mean, the fans, the people I grew up fishing against, the people I'm going to fish against, the people that are going to beat me, the people that I'm going to beat. That's all what makes a true champion. That's all what gives you the fighting spirit to want to go out and do it again. You know, the fishing is the only sport that you can go out and have a great day and can't wait to get out there, and you can go out and suck and you can't wait twice as bad to get back out there the next day. So for all that and everybody that's made this possible, and like I said, I'm sure I left somebody out, but it's totally by accident. But Dave, I appreciate everything everyone's done for me.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you. Got one last thing I forgot about. We got the challenge. So we got a Hank Cherry challenge. We got challenges in the app now. Let's see if we can get it pulled up here on the screen right quick for you. We're doing these challenges and associating each one with each show. And for Hank Cherry's challenge, we're going to step things up a little bit here. So getting back inside the app. All right, go to explore. There's challenges. We had the Randy Howell fish off. Had Jordan Lee's fish off. Now Hank Cherry's here. Click on it. All you got to do is go in and you got to catch 15 fish in 10 days. Log them in the app and you'll get the Hank Cherry badge right there. That nice classic. Everybody wants a classic trophy. So we decided to incorporate the classic trophy into your badge. So all you got to do is go out and catch 15 fish in 10 days, log them in the app, and you will get the Hank Cherry fish off badge. And that is a wrap on the show. Hank, again, we appreciate you, brother. Good luck out there. Can't wait for y'all to get back out there and get to fishing. Catch us.
Well, it's going to be soon, and I can't wait. In the meantime, I'm going to catch some more ocean giants while I'm down here.
Yeah, talking about that. One more thing right quick. So you're talking about the ocean giants. What happened out there today?
So we went and took him to catch his first actual redfish, him doing it from cast to catch. He caught one, but that picture right there is the Jack Crevalle that he caught on it. That was his second bite of the day. Why that fish is back there, I have no idea. It's in 6 foot of water. We're down there fishing with a good friend of mine from high school. His name's Bill Abbey and his son. First time our sons have ever met. And this is the first one of those that's ever come from down there in his 20 years of fishing there.
That's wild.
And then shortly after that, he catches another one. Not quite as big, but he caught 2. So it was a memorable day. Things like that don't happen very often, but things like that, that's why we go fishing, because you never know.
Do they have Jack Crevalle tournaments? I mean, you might want to get your son into those tournaments if they have.
Dude, I don't know. He was already talking junk. We didn't flounder fish today, but he's already informed me no matter how bad the wind blows tomorrow, how bad he's going to beat me tomorrow. So,
That's
I don't
what
know. We'll see. I'm creating a little monster during this virus.
All right, brother. Well, we appreciate you. Get out there, stay safe, go catch you some, and we'll see you down the road.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, bye. All right, that's a wrap. Wishing I Was Fishing, episode 5 with Hank Cherry. Don't forget to get out there and enter the challenge through the ANGLR app. We appreciate you guys coming on, asking questions. We're going to try to do some more of this call-in question asking stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of technical difficulties involved in that. But if we can get it going, it's going to be a pretty cool aspect of the show to be able to let you guys call in and kind of basically video chat, FaceTime, whatever you want to call it with these guys. And pretty simple way to do it. Just follow me on Instagram at Shaye Baker. I give you a heads up whenever we're going to try to get that going for next week's episode. We got a special guest for next week's episode, and we're not going to reveal him yet, but we'll reveal him soon. And with that, I am Shaye Baker. That was Wishing I Was Fishing, and see y'all next time. Toodaloo.